What if it wasn't about the other person's reaction at all, but more about the shift in you? What if we change that? I get that it's hard when it's not reciprocated, but we're flipping the script. This is part of flipping the script. Radical kindness doesn't need reciprocation. When we encounter people who are radically kind, when I say the spark that lit the flame, the catalyst, like something, in order for change to occur, to break inertia, you have to have a catalyst. And radical kindness was the catalyst for me in my own transformation. We don't have to know all the details of the journey to judge where are they at on that? Why didn't they do this in return? We're not judging who's playing by the rules and who's not. Forget the rules. We're rewriting the story, and we're empowered to do that. Be radically kind regardless of where anybody is on their journey.
It's crazy because you're literally saying everything that I have felt since I was little. Hey there, and welcome to the Reclamation Room. I'm Ashana, and I'm so glad you're here. This is a space for women reclaiming themselves after narcissistic abuse. If you've ever felt like you were too much, not enough, or both at the same time, you're in the right place. I created this podcast because I know what it's like to lose yourself in overgiving, overperforming, and still wondering why it never felt like love. I've walked through trauma, toxic relationships, and the long road of self-reclamation, and I'm here to walk with you. In this podcast, we'll explore what it means to come home to yourself after the confusion and chaos of narcissistic abuse. Some episodes will be solo, others will include guest interviews. All of them will be honest, grounded, and deeply compassionate. So, whether you're just realizing what you've lived through, or you've been on this path and you're ready for the next layer of your healing, you are welcome here. This is not about perfection. This is about reclamation. Hey guys, welcome to another episode of the Reclamation Room, the podcast for women healing from narcissistic abuse and betrayal trauma. Today in the studio, I chatted with Melissa Swonger. She is a leadership coach, an author, a PhD candidate, and she is also an overcomer and I believe a waymaker and a change maker here in the world, where she has founded the Sage Hill Project. I had so much fun chatting with Melissa today, and I cannot wait for you guys to hear all that she has to share and also to check out her links in the show notes, because I think there's something special there for everyone. How do you feel about just like having the mic for a second and introducing yourself?
Yeah, I'm happy to. Let's see where it goes. Want to? Okay, so a little bit about me. I kind of start with my story now and work backwards, if that's okay, because I fell through a trapdoor recently. And I don't mean figuratively, I mean literally. I fell through a trapdoor. And in the movies, like you fall through the trapdoor and they just bounce right up into the next action scene. And in real life, after a few screams and you land with a thud, you take kind of inventory of what happened. And for me, that was a couple that was breaking my back in two places, an avulsion fracture in my pelvis, and torn hamstrings on the leg that used to be my good leg. And I just had this opportunity, because it wasn't my first freak accident, to really just lay there. I mean, I couldn't even use crutches because my back was broken. So I was like, what do you want for me in this moment? Because I have CPTSD, which means there's a lot of traumatic moments in my life. And I was thinking through all of that, and epigenetic trauma, medical trauma, abuse, dysfunction, narcissistic parenting. And to come this far, I was thinking I had just left my niece, who I had helped raise, and put my PhD on hold because her youngest was diagnosed before his second birthday with a terminal illness, Sandhoff disease. I wasn't going to make it to his third birthday. So I hadn't even gotten in the house from having lived there for several months when this happened. And so I'm trying to make sense of the whole arc. And I really heard Write Your Story. And it wasn't the first time. The first time I heard Write Your Story was in 2009, July 8th of 2009, when a shopping cart severed the back of my leg, the other leg. And I was a freak accident. The shopping carts used to be these angle iron wheel chassis that got like scalpel sharp as they got older. And now they're all tubular wheel chassis, because I wasn't the first accident, but I was the last. And I just couldn't grow skin. I had nicked an artery, nicked nerves, and I had skin grafts and several surgeries over 10 months, and they didn't take, and they wanted to amputate my leg. And I didn't want them to. They didn't. But it took this triple Lindy surgery, and I was in a wheelchair, and they said, you'll never walk again without assistance. And I did. Over 4 years, I relearned how to, 4 physical therapists. The last one was in women's ministry with me. And I dropped my kids off at school and worked rehab like a full-time job. And not only did I walk again without assistance, I ran a 5K and then a 10K and then summited mountains.
Wow.
And so, yeah, that was a great story just in itself. Then I'm like here in this moment where lightning doesn't usually strike twice and I don't want it to strike 3 times. And I'm like, what am I supposed to do in this moment? And so I did. I wrote my book, and it was the arc of my life. It's called Whom He Raised, and it comes out in February. But it was the arc of my transformation in 3 parts: the grave, the trauma that puts me in there, and then me not wanting to get out, becoming a prison of my own making. The door was open, but I didn't want to leave. I kind of wrapped the grave clothes around me like a security blanket because the misery of the known was better than more trauma in the unknown.
Yep.
And then the calling, just kind of the call to emerge and the importance of that one step forward. When we look at the whole, it just gets so big and massive what we have to do to try to merge back into life after trauma. And so just focusing on what's one step we can do to get out of that grave. And then the section I stand in now, which is the witness, right? To tell, it's not algorithmic, everybody's different, but if we have some tips and tricks, what help one person may help another person, and creating that space to be seen and heard. And so for me, the spark that lit the flame, the catalyst, I realized was people. And I say that in the book. I was like, it's always the people, the good, the bad, and the ugly. It's the people.
Yep.
So people cause trauma, but also it's people that helped heal me.
Yeah.
And the empowering part of that is we get to choose who we are in this world. A lot of overcomers become the person they wish they'd had after healing. So I just realized kind of the arc of that. And as I really thought about it, I was like, I stand at the intersection, and I mean this now, and this is how, of my personal experience, my faith, and my education, because they all proved it to be true, no matter which perspective you were looking at, that radical kindness is the spark that lights the flame that leads to transformation. So it's kind of how we got to that journey of trying to start a movement through the Sage Hole Project of radical kindness, because it was the people who were radically kind to me, no matter why. When my brain was wired for protection instead of connection, we're supposed to be wired for connection. Trauma rewires our brain for protection. And so the more I craved people, the more I pushed people away. It was the radically kind people that walk in when everybody else walks out, that just wouldn't refuse to not love me, that made all the difference. So we just want to help equip people and empower people to choose radical kindness and kind of give the steps. What if I'm an overcomer who hasn't taken that first step yet? How can I be kind to myself and others? How, if I'm somebody supporting somebody in trauma, just kind of equip and empower, no matter which seat at the table you have in the conversation.
People need to read this.
The pre-sale is February 22nd. But I already contracted for the second book, which is Radical Kindness, which just takes that concept and just explodes it. Because that's like, for me, that's the aha thing. That's who I want to be. And it's what I think overcomes the division and all the things in the world that we get to choose. We're empowered to be radically kind.
Yeah, I 10,000% agree with you.
Yeah.
And I love that you're sharing this with no sense of hesitation, no sense of trepidation. Like, I wonder if this is the message that I should be putting out here. I wonder how people are going to take this. You have this sense of certainty. And
Yeah.
that's what people look to, right? When we're wandering around in the darkness and we're still looking to people to tell us what the right thing is, or if we're allowed to do this, or how we should feel, we look to those people who exude that certainty. And there's so many people out there exuding that in negative ways. And sometimes not even meaning to. But
Yeah.
we need role models. And I think that that's what you're doing with this. And I think that's beautiful.
Thank you. Thank you for saying that.
Yeah. But looking at the Sage Hill Project, I really love how you shared that no matter where someone is at on their journey, like you meet them where they are and they have a seat at the table. Can you talk our listeners through the tangibility of that? Like, what might people be coming to you with, and then what might they walk away with?
So there's a couple points on that. So my faith, I have a Christian faith, and that has been a huge part of my healing journey. And full disclosure, I have a master's from seminary. I'm a seminary grad at an interdenominational seminary, which I highly recommend. But I digress. That people can come though wherever, it's not exclusive, right? Wherever you are in your faith journey, because a lot of trauma, I mean, I have church trauma, like a lot of people have.
Yeah, me too.
Trauma, faith trauma, like I get that. And so we're a long table with a lot of empty seats. And if the seats fill up, pull up more. And so you can be wherever you are in your journey is okay. Wherever you are in your faith journey. I talk a lot about in the steps. There's 3 steps to transformation, which are awareness, connection, and movement. And they build on one another. And so in the first step, when we're talking about awareness, if you share that Christian faith, what was important to me was like Psalm 139 talks about search me, Lord, and point out any offensive ways, lead me in the way everlasting. So if your faith is that vertical faith intact, then you're going to invite that process in. If you're not where on your faith journey where that's a comfortable practice to you, then you can still take a 30,000-foot view. Even my PhD is in secular psychology. So you could still take that 30,000-foot view and try to become aware yourself. You can take an inventory of people close to you as well that you would trust, that would be, don't take advice from anybody that you wouldn't follow their choices. So just be careful you're asking into the process. But you can also do a reflective and meditative time of just taking that 30,000-foot view within yourself. And let's assess where we are right now compared to where we want to be. So that's the awareness portion. And then when we talk connection, the first one is vertical connection. So for me, that's a vertical connection with God. And nevertheless, if you want it to be integrated from the fragmented, right? As people who've experienced trauma are fragmented. Your trauma brain is a fragmentation. So what we try to do is bring back integration, mind, body, spirit. And no matter where you are, even secular psychology believes we are mind, body, spirit creatures. Like all of science proves that. And so that vertical connection then would be being in touch with something bigger than yourself, right? For me, that's God. Whoever you are, like you don't live in a vacuum. So how can we connect to a world bigger than ourselves? And so then that inward connection, then from vertical connection, we go inward connection, and that's learning who you are in the world, who God created you to be. Take personality inventories, interest inventories, skill set inventories, spiritual gifting. And then the third one is outward connection. And that's the one that really trips us up sometimes. That can be the first big step out. But tell you what, at all the low points in my life, this is just consistent. And I think this might actually be algorithmic, is finding somewhere else to pour into. There is a hurting world out there that needs what we have. And we don't live as an island. We're not unique in our suffering. And trauma tries to lie to our brain and tell us that. Nobody will understand. Nobody has it like you do. You just don't say anything. Just stay isolated. And the best thing in my lowest moments was lifting my eyes up out of the box, all the way up if you're able, in a godly connection. And if you're not, look outside your front door and connect. Be kind to yourself and take yourself out for a coffee. Use your real name when you give the order. Look the barista in the eye and connect with people with eye contact and hold the door open for someone. Those are outward connections, and that gains momentum and traction for the movement. That last piece is movement. It's the spark that lights the flame, and we like, okay, we had success with this. We could maybe we try one more. Maybe that connection builds. And so before you know it, you're engaging and connecting again, no matter how slow the merge was back into life after trauma.
Yes. Oh my gosh. Okay. So everything that you're saying, I'm nodding and I'm like, yeah, like absolutely. This makes all the sense in the world. I mean, personally, I even up to the 3 categories, like even in my work, I very similar, like the 3 categories, and it starts with the awareness. And I have this process where we have to zoom out, then you can zoom back in. But like you've got to, because after trauma, we get this tunnel vision. And everything is colored by that lens. And it's like, of course, everything is scary. Of course, everything is a threat. Like, zoom out for a second. And I love how you shared, like, there's other people in the world that are suffering too. And that's never to say that, like, yours isn't as much, or like, there's starving kids in Africa, so you should eat your dinner. You're not alone.
Yes, it's not comparison for sure.
Yeah.
It's not let's compare trauma. Nobody wins at that game because nobody's
I don't want
winning.
to win at that game.
Nobody's winning. There's no winner there, except when we just acknowledge that we're not the only ones suffering, then we understand that we can connect, we can bring broken, we don't have to fix it. We think the rest of the world's fine and we're on the outside looking in, and we're the only ones who don't have it all together.
Oh, yes, absolutely. I felt that way.
I think a lot of us do. And so it's just realizing the truth that that's a lie. So it's trying to separate the lie and the truth, because it becomes jumbled in our trauma brain. And we convince ourselves the need for protection without hypervigilance and looking for the threats. And you're going to find whatever you're looking for. And so can we retrain our brain to ask every time you start to go down that threat venue, okay, look at the glimmers, right? So if I'm going to hold myself accountable every time I think this, well, what if everything goes wrong? Well, what if everything goes right? It's only fair. So it's just realizing that we're not that we're not unique. We are each unique, wonderfully made. But when you're in trauma, sometimes that doesn't feel great to feel so unique.
Yeah.
So feeling connected is the goal. We don't feel connected anymore. And to understand, just bring an understanding and awareness to the fact that a lot of people you're crossing paths with feel similarly. And they long for connection too. What if you just made eye contact and smiled? What if they don't receive it? What if they don't? You've been in a place not to receive it either. What if it didn't matter whether they received it? What if it's not about reciprocity?
You still have one more smile on your belt that you took with you at the end of your life. You smiled one more time. Go you.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah. What if it wasn't about the other person's reaction at all, but more about the shift in you? What if we change that?
Yeah.
Not rejection sensitivity after all of that. And so I get that it's hard when it's not reciprocated, but we're flipping the script. This is part of flipping the script. Radical kindness doesn't need reciprocation.
Sound bite. Say it again. That was so good. So, what brought you to, let's talk about radical kindness. Talk to me about, like, you landed on this word radical. What does that mean to you?
Well, it's different, right? It's different and it's challenging. That actually was a question I got asked a whole lot back in September when I was at an event. They're like, how is that different from everyday kindness? Well, that's one of the ways, is what I just said. It doesn't demand reciprocity. It walks in when everybody else walks out. It's no struggle to be kind to the people that you know, right? The people that you like, the people that are making you feel good. In that kind of environment, kindness is the norm and what's expected. It's the kindness that goes outside of the norm, right? It's a kindness that defies social norms. It defies expectation, because there's a lot of times where people won't blame you for not being kind, right? They're like, what a jerk.
Yep.
What a, and when we start to understand that we could reciprocate, but we as overcomers are uprooting those seeds of bitterness and unforgiveness. So we don't have to play by the script anymore. The world says you should be, they don't deserve forgiveness. Be bitter. Look at all that's happened to you. And we get to flip the script. We get to uproot those seeds and choose instead to plant seeds of hope. And we take that out into the world, right? And so we get to choose what we're throwing. And there's a lot of world that can still irritate us. I'm not the kindest person I know. At least it's a choice to go and extend unreciprocated, radical kindness that to the people who you may feel like least deserve it, right? According to social norms and values. I think the biggest way I could say it is define social norms and giving without the need for reciprocity. A lot of the way it's transactional rather than transformational connections that we look for in this world. What can I get out of it? And radical kindness is steeped in transformation. What if I get nothing out of it but being radically kind? That's enough, because in this economy, right, in the flip script economy, that's enough. It's not transactional. I don't need anything out of it.
Yeah. And you shared, like, the world will tell you, like, be bitter, like, hold on to that. You don't have to forgive them, or, put up walls, or tough it out and pretend everything's fine, or just like forgive and forget and move on and smooth over it. And there's all these different methods, right, of dealing with these things. My favorite part of this is that this concept of radical kindness, when you commit to this, when it's a practice, when it becomes something that you're like digging into, I feel like this is rewiring your brain in real time.
Yes. And that is, like I said, I stand at the intersection of my personal experience, my faith, my education. My education knows we are.
Yeah.
And so to be an overcomer, you have to rewire your brain, or to revert back to a default factory setting, if you will. We were created for connection.
Yeah.
Trauma rewires our brain for protection. So when we encounter people who are radically kind, when I say the spark that lit the flame, the catalyst, like something, in order for change to occur, to break inertia, you have to have a catalyst. And
Mm-hmm.
radical kindness was the catalyst for me in my own transformation. I had a woman named, her name was Laura Casper, so I can even name who it was. But I knew 105 ways not to be a good parent. And I wasn't nearly as kind a person then as I even am now. And I said, I'm not the kindest person I know. But when my oldest daughter was born, I held her. And for the first time in my life at 25, I knew what it was to love something so much bigger than myself unconditionally. And I had a lot of questions about my own parenting. But what I knew for sure was I was going to perpetuate the trauma cycle because I'd never seen any other way to do it. And I'm the youngest of six. I'd watched all of my siblings parent. And I knew and was terrified that I didn't know any other way to do it. And so I begged God for wisdom in James 1:5 fashion that says, ask God for wisdom, I'll give it to you generously. And it took a few years, but then this woman, Laura Casper, came into my life. She helped reparent my inner child. She became a grandma to my kids. And her friend, she was in a soul healing ministry, and her best friend became my therapist. It was like this whole thing of people
Wow.
walking in when everyone else would walk out. But there was one moment in particular when my 4-year-old, I was in a wheelchair at the time, so I'd known her for a while by then, but my 4-year-old was undiagnosed celiac and in the hospital a lot. And I'm navigating Children's Hospital, and I also had a 3-year-old. And I'm navigating Children's Hospital, the two of
And
them.
this was when you also had your leg cut.
Yes, I'm in a wheelchair.
Oh my
Why
God.
on earth I did not have an electric wheelchair, I will never know.
You had a little bit going on in your life.
And true to trauma, because I wasn't fully healed at that time, we will mask and revert and isolate. So I had known her for a while, and she kept hammer calling me while my kid's in the hospital and this. And I'm not answering because I don't want any connection. The more that happens, the more I need to isolate to feel protected and safe. And she kept calling. I was on a break in like the lobby in my wheelchair, and she called one more time. And this woman, 6 foot tall with a crown of gray glory, and just enters the room with all the grace and poise and is never loud but commands attention. And just one of the best humans I've ever known. She passed in 2020. But she called me again, and I answer the phone and yell at her with something she's never deserved in her life. And I was just like, can't you take a hint? I don't want to talk to you. And usually that would be it. Like if you have a lot of practice at that, you know that that's usually it. Right? Nobody does want to talk to you again after that.
Okay.
And she just, in her sing-song voice, said, no, I don't suppose I can. And I'll be right there. And showed up and kept
Wow.
and then there were women from church that came and cleaned my house because I'm crawling through my house. I can't do it. My husband's in residency at this time and working a ton of hours. Women, I was on a meal train. They brought meals to my family for so many years, like years, because I'm in a wheelchair. They brought school supplies for my kids. They loved me with everything they had when I had nothing to give in return.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And it broke me. It broke me. And that's what that was the catalyst that allowed me to stop and think, what if I'm wrong? What if connection can be okay?
Did you have moments where you felt like you didn't deserve what they were doing? Did you push them away because of like, did you feel
Yeah.
awful?
Yeah. Well, I didn't even think we were playing from the same script. Like, I always felt like I'm operating in a world that I don't even know what the manual, like, we must have two
Yeah.
different manuals for living. And
Yeah.
it was just like an outside looking in kind of like I always felt that way. I could mask and I'd have this stoic face because growing up, like, you weren't supposed to show the emotion of how you felt what's going on. So I learned to have this very stoic face, which I still have, quite frankly. And I try not to be intentional, not to be. My default is to like, this is my face. I don't know what to say. I try to be more approachable now, but no, I always felt like I didn't know the script or what was going on. And the world isn't ready for that kind of divergency in many instances. And that's where the radical kindness comes in, is just accepting people where they are, because you can model to them a different way of being as they're coming out of the dark place, out of the grave. You can be the safe place that they can take another step to. They hop, and instead of having to revert like a turtle, they can be like, oh, they hopped and the world's still turning. Nothing bad happened. And overcomers need those kind of stepping stones to bridge. And that's where the radical kindness not needing reciprocity comes in. Because what if we're just the first stepping stone or the second? Or what if they've just taken a step back or whatever? It doesn't matter. We don't have to know all the details of the journey to judge where are they at on that? Why didn't they do this in return? We're not judging who's playing by the rules and who's not. Forget the rules. We're rewriting the story. And we're empowered to do that. Be radically kind, regardless of where anybody is on their journey.
I think this is one of my favorite podcast episodes ever.
Yeah,
It's
I'm so
such a,
glad you love it.
yeah. I mean, it's crazy because you're literally saying everything that I have felt since I was little, right? And so, and this is just like my particular brand of this, like reaching out to people over the years with social media posts, blog posts, like, you know, these bids for connection. And of course, I had this journey of like, I guess, imposter syndrome, you could call it. Like, now my ego is in this. Now I'm getting an identity from this. Who am I to be sharing things like this? But it was always me sharing this message of like, you're amazing. I love you. Keep going. Like, because people had always told me, oh my gosh, you've been through so much trauma. You're so mature. You're so strong. Wore that like a badge of armor for a while. But then I came to this place of like, I wasn't actually being strong that whole time. Like I was completely falling apart on the inside and just had a good mask on and everyone bought it. It's okay to fall apart. It's okay to have no idea what you're doing. It's okay to, I also felt like everyone around me had some secret sauce that I didn't have access to. Like, why are you all so happy? How are you competent and performing and functioning all the time? Like, you know?
Just the daily. How are you?
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Yes, I get that.
And so when I got to this place of like, oh wow, I can relax and like get to know myself and maybe I wasn't so bad all those years. Maybe like, oh my gosh, I wanted to shout it off the rooftops and tell everyone else, right? Like, you're
Yes.
okay, you're amazing. I love you. Keep going. You have magic here to share with the world. And I feel like you're sharing like your version of that, your brand of that, which we're all here to do, right? Share our brand of magic, of beauty. And the
Mhm.
way that you're sharing it is such a breath of fresh air. It's so
Mm.
empowering.
Thank you. And I really do see it like your brushstroke and my brushstroke, or your thread and my thread being woven together in this master tapestry. And that's the point of reclaiming our voices. And for those of us who have people in our lives who aren't used to seeing or hearing us, you know, we have shrank for a lot of our lives and not taken up our full space, because for me, I was too much or not enough in alternating measures. So the
Yeah.
axiom of just being yourself was lost on me, totally lost. And so now as I take up space, and just since writing my book, so it's fairly new for me. This is fairly new for me. Speaking truth, just speaking it out. I'm pulling it all together and using my own story. I don't have to teach on theory and inwardly know that it's true. I can combine it all. It's okay for me to be visible. It's okay for me to speak my story out. It's okay for my voice to be heard. And if that makes other people in my life uncomfortable, well, that's telling, right? Then that's telling. So it's not, I would just say this: do it scared. If you're waiting to have it all together and waiting to feel safe, like we don't always feel safe. And so do it scared. Take that first step scared. If it's on your heart and you've been through a healing journey and you're like, I really want to share do it scared. There's a whole bunch of us who can create space for all the voices. So you may grow and evolve and look back and be like, oh my gosh, think about how much I've grown since then. And I hope I do. But it's having the courage to be you, and that can keep changing and evolving. And that's beautiful. We believe we had to have it all together in order to present. And what if this isn't performative? What
Yeah.
if it's just being real, and living things grow and change? Permission.
Yes. Yes. Look at the plants, right?
Yeah.
Look at children, look at babies. They come into this world and they're here and they're growing, they're developing. Buckle up, watch, take notes. It's happening. And it
Yeah.
happens quickly and it happens. You don't have to guide them to know how to do that, right? And we all do that. We all have that process. And I feel like the things that happen to us or that we've been through and experienced that cause trauma and caused that fracturing and caused that the inner voice of like, oh my gosh, maybe I shouldn't do this. Maybe I should be more quiet. I feel like those are the pieces that like stuck mud over us. If we were a flower growing, right? Stuck mud over us and it's like peel those off and keep growing. Keep growing. It's not a
Yes. And I heard something just this morning. that was like, who told you? And this is biblical. Like, what was the first thing God said to Adam? And he was like, who told you that you were naked in this instance? But the teaching of it was, who told you? So then now at this point in our lives, maybe removed from the traumatic moments and everything, who keeps telling you that you're not good enough, that no one wants to hear your voice, right? So if you've gotten out of a abusive situation and you're in your own space, sometimes we stay, like our physical safety is secured, but mentally we live in trauma. We live in the past, right? Or we're bracing to not have it happen in the future. And so either way, we're not present. And so when those voices come up that say you're not good enough, you can't do this, you shouldn't do this, shouldn't is a shaming word, right? So we tell her, and we're empowered to stop those voices. Who told you? Well,
Yeah.
let's be kind to ourselves. That's one of the things also is always like, be kind to yourself. It starts there. Be aware of how you're talking to yourself. What's your self-talk? No one else may be traumatizing you or abusing you now, but what are you saying to yourself? And we
Yeah.
can
What are you
change those
allowing?
recordings.
Yep. So, okay, I'm curious, what kind of tools, or is it tools? Is it workshops? Do you host classes? What does that look like for people who might be listening and want to take a look?
Yeah, well, we're just branching out. So for several years, I have been doing coaching, like just one-on-one coaching, life coaching, transformation coaching, and organizational coaching, because I also focus on leadership, right? So that we have more positive environments and work cultures, which, by the way, radical kindness in the workplace creates loyalty and higher engagement, and all the positive things you want come from creating a positive, radically kind workplace.
I could see that. It makes sense.
Fun fact. Fun fact, people do better and perform better together, collaboratively, increased creativity when they have a radically kind workplace. But then we are developing, it's funny that you should ask, we are developing radical kindness workshops, and there's a workbook coming out with a radical kindness book that will be next summer. But we are hoping to just create that momentum and really, because I say it's not a moment, it's a movement. We are trying to start a movement of radical kindness through the Sage Hill Project, where we can equip and empower people. We believe that'll happen through workshops.
Yep, absolutely.
You can go to www.thesagehillproject.com and the contact us. I would like to do a workshop in my area. I'm interested in individual coaching. That will come to me. So you'll get me if you hit that contact us. I will get that email and you can say whatever you want to say.
Perfect. I honestly, when you said it's not a moment, it's a movement, chills. Like I can see it. It's growing. It's already here. It's happening. That
Yeah.
momentum.
And we get to be a part of it. Like I feel like it's outside of myself too.
Yeah.
That I just get to be a part of it.
So beautiful.
Thank
And it's
you.
cool too how like you don't have to, and I might be over speaking here, so tell me if so, but you don't have to be like encumbered by the ownership of this, right? Like you can be unattached from that and like this is its own thing. This doesn't even have to reflect on me anymore. It's not about that. It's about what is it about? What would you say?
I think one of the reasons that I wanted it to not be like my name or whatever, the Sage Hill Project is special to me, but that it is supposed to be a legacy changing movement, that it is supposed to be outside of me, that it isn't supposed to be about me. It's supposed to be about all of us. It's supposed to be about a collective. I mean, the whole point is connection and flipping the script. We are not beholden to the people who tell us division is better than unity. We're not beholden to the social norms that create exclusionary practice. We are not beholden to what anyone else in power has said we must abide by. And so it's about not only finding our voice, but taking back our power and saying, we don't have to live that way. We can be better together. We can be inclusive rather than exclusive. We can promote unity over division. I believe we do that through radical kindness. I do think that it is going to take off in ways that won't be controlled. I hope it does. I hope
Yep.
it takes off in ways that nobody can contain, that you could try and it would be ineffective because
Yeah.
there are people who still would rather there be negativity in the world, but that, you know what, our behavior can change that too. Maybe not mine in the moment, but like I keep saying, we're planting these seeds of hope, just liberally planting hope like wildflowers. And we
Yeah.
don't know. We don't always get to see that seed sprout. I believe they
There's so many things about your project that like I'm visualizing it as you're
will.
speaking. And so this concept of like rewiring your brain in real time, check, we're doing that. But we're also, through the Sage Hill Project, we're zooming out in real time also. Because
Yeah.
even when you're in that tunnel vision of what you've been through and the pain, and it's so difficult, like you just said, this is a momentum, this is a spark, this is its own energy at this point. This is an entity of kindness, right? Like this is a living, breathing thing that is now spreading like wildfire. And
Yeah.
even if you don't have hope for yourself in this moment, there's still options. You can have control over your mindset. You can still spark something for someone else. Like zoom out. And it's like this gentle encouragement, like zoom out, zoom out. I love it. I can feel it.
Oh, I'm so glad. Yeah, me too. I'm thrilled that we're sharing this moment.
Yes. Have you had like a defining something that you heard, something that you read, something that really stands out to you that you're like, this changed everything for me? You've shared actually a lot of really good nuggets, so it's okay if not.
Yeah.
But it's like a piece of information that you're like, everyone needs to hear or read or see this.
Of course, when you ask me like point blank, everything I ever known just came to my mind, and I can't grab onto one thing. And as soon as we get off I'll be like, oh, why didn't you say that? I will say, I studied a lot of leadership early on. So I never knew I was going to go back to school. But in 2017, I really felt called to, and I never knew I'd go back to seminary. I didn't even know what seminaries existed. I had no idea. And by the way, a lot of them won't take women. Who knew?
Really? Wow.
Oh, yeah.
Interesting.
Doesn't matter. My theology doesn't align with that anyway. But Gordon Conwell is a great one. It's actually Billy Graham's seminary that he pulled together in 1969 from two other Bible college and university. And they've always graduated women. They've never not graduated women. And so I fit right in there. And I loved it that we got to wrestle because it's interdenominational. So some people are very denominationally aligned. And so there's a lot of wrestling because Christianity has a lot of gray areas. And I really loved it. But we read a book in there, and I focused on leadership because one of the things I had to do was learn to lead myself well. And so I'm a leadership coach, both just personally and executive, because it's the leaders who define the culture. So if we're going to create, well, I'm just realizing as I say that, no wonder that I'm trying to launch a culture shaping movement because it's what I've done for so long. You change the culture within yourself, though. Like you have to lead yourself well first. And when we go to organizations, like one of the things I always ask the leader of whatever it is, CEO or director or founder, it's always, are you prepared for the problem to be you? Like I just up front before we sign it, because if you're not, then this probably won't work because 9 times out of 10 plus, it's a leadership problem. Leaders are supposed to scan the horizon and look for blip on the horizons and adjust the sail to keep getting where they need to go and to pivot no matter what the circumstances are that arise. If a storm on the seas, you're going to adjust the sail, whatever it takes to keep going. And we're big picture people. And the first person you have to lead well is you. And so one of the books that I read that was really instrumental to me was Canoeing the Mountains. And I can't think of the author right now. I hope we have time to go back.
I'm gonna write it down.
Canoeing the Mountains. And I loved that book because it talked about ditching it's about Lewis and Clark. It's not just about them, but it's about how they had to pivot and what the life application of leadership is for us. And so those of us who have a default of whatever, let's say that whatever your default is on growing up, it's your canoe, right? This is what I know. This is what I believe about myself. These are your beliefs, your systems, your style, your default. This is what I know. And so Lewis and Clark believed, because no one had seen it yet, they thought we're going to take a river all the way across America, I guess. And they get to a mountain. All they have is the canoe. Well, you have to ditch the canoe. You have to pivot. You have to expand what you thought was possible.
This is so good.
And so in that, in our own lives and leading yourself well. So this is my psychology focuses on concentric circles, right? Individual psychology, and then relationships, and then community, and then organizational, like it keeps going out, but it all starts with the same kind of theories for that individual psychology. And so it's just applying what we know, no matter which circle you're on, and applying it for the area we're focusing on. And so when you think about the canoe representing like the culture within yourself, all of your belief systems and how you got there and your lived experiences, and you come against the mountain, you're so frustrated on the outcomes that you're not realizing because all you've brought with you is a canoe and you can't canoe the mountain. So what do I have to let go of to receive the tools for the next step? So when you're standing at your mountain, and all you have is the canoe, take that 30,000-foot view and take an inventory. What do I have to let go of to receive what the Lord has for me? to receive the tools I need for that next step.
That's good.
And when we start to expand our way of thinking, we get stuck in a rut of just this linear thinking. And most of life isn't linear. We make plans on paper that are linear.
We try to make it linear. We try our hardest.
It just doesn't work. I mean, kudos to you if you've made that linear path.
Yeah.
A lot of us haven't, me included. And so it's just continually to reassess in yourself, what am I thinking that's serving me well and will serve me well in this next chapter? What served me well, and thank your former self or thank this for helping you get this far. But I'm going to leave you here. I don't need this anymore.
So
And then I'm
good.
going to receive, what do I need? Do I need courage? What do I need? Do I need wisdom? What do I need for this next step? Do I need to make more connections? Do I need to get out into groups more? Do I need to get therapy? Do I need to get whatever it is? Do I need to go back to school? Do I need to write a book? What do you need for the next step? And then put that in whatever your backpack, right? It's like we're going on an adventure. What tools do I have that are serving me and what's not? And give thanks to the things that got you this far. But hey, I've got it from here. We're going to do this now.
Yeah. And I think two things came up for me listening to you. We've shared our progress. We've learned like connection is where it's at, right? Don't isolate, don't isolate. And so when you leave that boat behind and you walk forward with your backpack, if you've written and shared about your process, if you've spoken with people about your process, if you've shared wisdom along the way, somebody else gets to come and use that boat if they need it. Like you left something
That's a really
there.
good point.
So it's not useless. Like, oh gosh, I can't believe I wasted years of my life. No, you didn't.
Oh, that's part of being grateful and thankful for the you that used the canoe,
Yeah.
that got you to this point. You're just entering a new section or chapter of your life. What do I need to go forward?
So question, this is the second thing that came up for me. You had your leg cut by the shopping cart.
Yep.
So that was like lightning strike number one. Lightning strike number two, you've now broken your back, among other things. So what was it when you said, like, what do I need in order to get to this next level? You know, do I need courage? Do I need to write a book? Is that what you think that your message was that you needed to get to that next level, was to write the book? Or was there like a greater message there?
So I knew I needed to write the book from 2009, 10. It happened in 2009, 10. And I really heard that. And I really just wrestled with God and saying, I really don't want to, I'm not writing my story. What if I write a fiction book and use a pseudonym?
Did you
Like
do that?
I did, but I didn't publish it.
Okay. Okay.
No, like that's not what and then in 2017, advisor at seminary, Dr. Rodney Cooper, was like, you need to write about, because initially they were like, we're going to share our life stories because you just get filleted, you know, you tell all your story. And I was like, told him privately, like, how much of my story should I tell? And he was like, well, why don't you tell me what you mean? And so I'm like, my erratic EKG looks like this of my timeline. And he's like, yours is a story that has to be told. I'd heard that a few years and I was like, no, what if I teach and use anecdotes of my story?
Let me ask your opinion, but then let me kind of like adjust the feedback here.
And I didn't do it then. And so what I needed to write my story, well, I was flat on my back. And so I was willing to do just about anything to appease, just to do what I knew, I knew I was supposed to do it. I needed to be willing to be vulnerable. And I didn't want to do that. And so what I needed in my backpack was the courage to be vulnerable.
So the correlation there, was it just a personal thing in you that like the physical pain was enough to like shock you and get you to like rock bottom per se of like, okay, fine, I'll do it?
Yeah, it wasn't, I mean, so it wasn't so much the physical pain, and it wasn't like bad things happen. Like my theology and my belief system doesn't follow. These bad things are happening to you because you're not doing what you're supposed to do. So it wasn't even that. And I don't want to make anybody believe that I was like, well, if I don't do this, then
I'm just going to
like,
keep getting hurt.
I mean, honestly, all the things that have happened in my life, like, no, it's just, that's not the way, that's not my belief system. But I have this opportunity, and it was a recurring thing that I knew I needed to do. So for part of my healing, I needed to know that I could do it. I needed to not keep having the recurring thought. I needed to check that box and do it, even if I never published it. Well, then as it turns out, like that step of obedience, my one step here, and I've had a lot of steps out of the grave, but in this journey, there's a lot of journeys in our life where we come to like I'll give the analogy of summoning mountains because that's something I did. I never thought I would be able to do again. When you get there, right, it's not the end. You have to go back down. We don't just live up there. And it's not the only mountain I've climbed, literally or figuratively. And so even this with my back, I found myself at the base of another mountain on the heels of a year of mountains, right? I had been with my niece while her youngest was dying. And so sometimes life gives us mountain after mountain. And where I was in my healing journey in this moment was resignation. I wasn't asking why me. I had healed from those kind of thoughts earlier. It was what can I do and what I felt productive in doing and for myself and in connecting with the world was to write this story. And I didn't know if I was ever going to publish it. Just for me, I'm going to do it because it's been in my mind for years. And so I did it. And then that is like the one step of obedience. I still, in this courage journey, needed one step. Like it's not just one step and then you're done. Earlier, we talked about we don't know where anyone is on their journey. They could have just hopped to this step. Now they hop to that step. For me, I'm still, I needed that one step of courage. There's still moments that take courage. And I took that one step of obedience, and it was the spark that lit the flame in that way in my life. And doors were opening that I didn't even know to knock on. I'm here today with you. Like
Yeah.
I didn't even know to knock on these doors or how to do it in my life. But that one step of obedience led to me getting to be a part of the movement of radical kindness.
Getting to be.
Yeah.
Love your choice of words there.
I mean, I really feel that if I hadn't, I mean, somebody else could have done it. I wouldn't get to be a part of it. I mean, necessarily, but one step of obedience, having the courage to be vulnerable. And I have met friends for the journey that I didn't know before this, who are also authors, who are also overcomers, and them lending me their courage because you have these moments where you're like, I can't possibly produce this. Like, I cannot let this go out into the world. And you're just like, no, but you can because you do believe in reclaiming your voice. This is a good work. The thing with having CPTSD is that we don't one day check the box and now it's all over. What we do is have enough tools in our backpack that we're no longer a victim to the ploys and the wiles of CPTSD or your trauma or what has happened to you.
Yes.
You're empowered. Sometimes that's several times a day. Sometimes you have whole stretches where you need minimal tools and stocking that backpack with the tools you need for the journey and knowing when to reach out for help to get new tools for the journey, I think is critical to managing people who are overcomers, people who have experienced trauma.
Yep. And I want to highlight here how you shared that it is okay to reach out for more tools. There's no shame in admitting, like, I don't know what I'm doing here. Can someone please help me? Because speaking to younger me here, oh my gosh, you're not meant to handle all of this by yourself, even though that's how you've had to do it, or that's how you felt like it's supposed to be in the world. You're not meant to do it alone. We are wired for connection.
We are. And that is one of the things that I don't do well is reach out for help. I think that's common among a lot of us. And I know it is common among a lot of us. And having people in my life that recognize that about me and reach out to check in to see if I need help is also a healthy, functional part of connecting and doing life well. And it's okay if your first attempts at those connections don't land.
That's
I
good.
think we can tell ourselves there's something wrong with us if our first attempts at connecting didn't work out the way we'd hope. We'll just quit because it's never going to work for us anyway. It worked for them, it's fine. No, like you have to reach out. I asked Laura Hasper to be my mentor. I had no idea where it was going to go. I just thought she was going to mentor me on how to lead women. I had no idea she was going to completely wreck everything I knew about my life in the best way possible. But we have to reach out and ask and connect, and it's not coming to us. People think, well, I'm just going to attract that. And sometimes it does happen that way. And great for you if it does. Most of the time,
Yeah.
most of the time, we have to reach out and keep trying to connect because it's worth it.
Yeah.
And you just see what lands. I tried this group. I asked this friend. And if they don't text back or we didn't have the same synergy or ease that I'm looking for, there's a whole population of people out there.
Yeah.
Keep trying until you find the one that lands for you, but don't quit trying to connect.
I think people really need to hear this. And I had one more question come up, which You can say you prefer not to answer this, but I'm wondering the moment where you're laying there on your back and you're like, this book is coming, it's coming for you if you say yes, right? Like about to step forward into this doorway of opportunity here. I'm wondering if you could just sum up how you were feeling. Like, what emotion was that for you when you were laying there like that?
I had had about 2 weeks where I couldn't even sit, like recline enough to use my computer. So I had to work to get to that point. And in those 2 weeks, I had wrestled and had a peace about what was coming, and any anxiety shifted to an anticipation of what was in it for me. Now, writing the arc of my story, and it doesn't include any gory details because I don't think those are helpful for me or my reader, but it includes enough highlights and enough details to understand the emotional honesty behind a lot of things. And I shared the parts that I felt comfortable sharing, and they're not exhaustive in the least. And I honored myself in that and really asking, would you feel comfortable in sharing and what do you not? And I go through and still read it and decide, am I comfortable with the way this is presented? Am I comfortable that these details aren't included or are included? And recognize that I get to honor myself and my voice in that I'm not honor bound to tell anybody anything. And I get to set the boundaries for what I say and how I say it.
I love your answer. That was the reason I asked that question is because, we may have people listening who are at that precipice, and just normalizing what you might be feeling in that moment. And it could be a spectrum, right? But you sharing your experience here, like I said, I feel like you're an incredible role model. So thank you for
Thank
sharing
you for
that.
saying so. Even if I don't know if I feel it, but I thank you for saying so. And the one thing I would say is I always gave myself permission. I believe in revocable decisions. So I wrote my story, and the whole time I'm writing it, and there were some really hard parts. Now, keep in mind, I've gone through soul healing for years and therapy for years. I have written hard parts of my story. I've shared hard parts of my story. I've gone through psychology and spiritual formation like academically, and still writing the story brought up feelings for me that I had to process. And so I had somebody I could process them with, and professionally and personally. And then I gave myself permission that I still have, even though I've reached a place where I know I'm going to publish this book. But I gave myself permission to read and reread. And if there's a part of me that didn't feel comfortable, I can go back and I can read and I can say, okay, how do you feel about it now that you've reread this? And usually I actually feel fine about it. But I honor that part of me that might feel anxious, right? I don't want to feel anxious, but I feel anxious. And so you just acknowledge, hey, I feel anxious about this right now. So I'm going to go read that. What would make me feel better is to read it and make sure that I feel honored in it. Okay, so I go and I'm like, okay, so far I haven't changed anything, even though I'm like, oh my gosh, we have to change. And then you go and you're like, okay, no, that was fine. I feel
Yeah.
fine. I can walk away with peace. And so just having the revocable decision that I believe I'm supposed to write this right now. I'm going to write this right now. Holding myself accountable to getting through the hard parts. I'm going to write all of it out right now. And it came pretty easily. It actually, once I started writing, and it just flowed.
So did you start at the beginning or?
Yeah,
Wow.
I did. Well, not really. I mean, the first chapter starts with I fell through a trap door because that's what happened. I was like, look, this is where I started. But now let me go back and kind of go mostly chronologically. Not exclusively, but it makes sense the way it's written, I think, at least in my mind. So yeah, I would just say if you feel you want to put your story down, and a lot of overcomers have people telling them all the time, yours is a story that has to be told. And you lack the courage to be vulnerable like I did, to just kind of give yourself, honor yourself, the parts of you that got you this far, the parts of you that have overcome, the parts of you that are the wounded inner children that we've healed, the parts that have gone through and survived. Honor them by integrating all of that into one story. And then you can decide if anybody else gets to see it or not. But I think there's power in letting our voices be heard and reclaiming our voice and our space.
Yeah.
The conversation at large, in the world at large. We were here. We matter. We are here for a time such as this. We have a purpose. This is what happened, but don't let the story end there with what people know happened to you. Let them know what happened because of it.
Yeah.
And we have purpose. It's not too late. It's never too late. It's never too late to take the first step to change the script. It's never too late. It takes one step in a different direction, one mindset shift, one different decision.
Yeah. What would you say is your purpose here?
I really think my purpose is to encourage other people that we're not what other people say we are. We're not what other people have done to us or the choices we've made. We can begin again. It's never too late to begin again. And there is hope. If you've lost hope, there is hope. And my purpose really is to promote the idea that the spark that lights the flame, the catalyst to the transformation we're all looking for, is radical kindness. And it starts with us.
I love that. I had so much fun chatting with Melissa today. Check out her links in the show notes because I think there's something special there for everyone.
Thanks so much. I really appreciate you having me.
No, thank you. This has been awesome.
I feel blessed to have been here. I'm so glad I met you.
I'm at a precipice right now and you helped me with it, and thank you. I don't know, but
take from it what you get, and
yeah,
I will too. And I am glad that I get to collect friends like you for the journey. So thank you.
Yeah, for sure. Okay, perfect. Well, thank you so much. I had fun.
Okay, perfect. Thanks so much.
Okay. Bye.
Thanks for spending time in the Reclamation Room. Be sure to follow or subscribe so you never miss an episode. And if this supported you, consider sharing it or leaving a review. You're not alone.